the big conversation that we have on the show. We'll be putting the spotlight on conversational AI leader Gupshup, which has recently raised over $60 million in a fresh round that combines equity and debt. It's by Globespan Capital Partners and Evolution X Debt Capital. In fact, the company is now planning to use the funds to expand its AI-driven messaging platform, and it could also speed up go-to-market execution across India, the Middle East, Latin America, and Africa. Remember, Gupshup was founded in 2004 and powers over 120 billion messages annually for 50,000 plus customers across 130 countries. To speak more on the objective of this fundraise, the growth plans that the company has, we're now joined by the CEO and co-founder of Gupshup, Behrooz Sheth. Thank you very much, Behrooz, for joining us here on ET Now. I was just talking about how you plan to use the funds to expand your AI-driven messaging, but what else will this funding be used for?
Firstly, hi, Sumita. Thanks for having me here. I think we're going to use this mainly for two things. One is, of course, product innovation, with AI moving as fast as it has and being used for so many different use cases. I think there's a huge opportunity to develop new products, to increase marketing efficiency, to reduce costs, to enable new use cases, enhance customer engagement, and so on. And the other, of course, is for market expansion, continue to invest in our go-to-market efforts around these global regions. And we've established ourselves as among the leading players globally. So I think it's a very exciting phase for us. There's a huge growing demand. AI is the subtopic of conversations in every boardroom with CEOs and leaders and so on. So we really want to be out there enabling this. And Gupshup is indeed the company that's best positioned to help customer enterprises improve their customer engagement.
Right, Mr. Sheth, you also spoke about new products, the fact that you'll be using this funding to come up with new products. You also mentioned about venturing into newer geographies. I believe that you're already present in 130 plus countries. What are your plans with respect to market expansion, the geographies that you want to focus on, and the kind of products that you're expecting or planning to roll out?
Sure. So firstly, talking about markets, sort of a lot of the Western markets like US and Europe, they're very web-centric. But if you go to all the emerging markets, these are mobile-first, messaging-centric ecosystems, right? Where everybody is on their smartphones using WhatsApp or RCS or other messaging channels. And in these countries, what enterprises find that the best way to connect with their consumers, in countries like India, Mexico, Brazil, Indonesia, the Middle East as well, and so on, in all these markets, Africa, the best channel for enterprises to connect with their consumers is through mobile messaging, either WhatsApp or RCS. So that's where, we enable all these capabilities, where enterprises can build AI agents to enable marketing and commerce and customer support through these messaging channels, right? So these are the regions where we are seeing great demand, a lot of traction for our products and capabilities. So those are the markets where we want to continue getting deeper, both, with large enterprises, we have a direct sales team. For mid-market and SME customers, we have a huge partner network as well. So we spend a lot of energy in that. And then, of course, I talked about product innovation. There's a lot of new and exciting use cases that are emerging, and enterprises find that by leveraging this, so imagine whether it's through text or could also be through voice calls and so on, they're able to really automate, provide delightful customer experience while lowering their cost of service and so on, right? So I think these are really transforming. It drives more revenue, it reduces cost, it improves customer satisfaction. I mean, it helps with all of those metrics, and businesses are really using it a lot.
Right, Mr. Sheth, you spoke about revenues, driving revenues from each of these countries, but could you give us a sense of the revenue split in some of these countries versus India?
Well, so India is still, more than half our business, and the other markets are a little less than half put together. But they're faster growing, right? We've been in India a long time. The other markets were just literally over the last 3 or 4 years. But I think we are seeing far greater growth, right? And I think what happens is, India is a much more competitive market, and any company that can survive and thrive in India can actually do very, very well in almost any other market, and we're experiencing that. So, I think it takes a lot of time and effort, and you have to build the right culture to be able to scale across so many different countries. And we've in the hard work to do that, and therefore these markets have grown a lot. You have to be sort of a native player in each company. I mean, in Brazil, you have to be like a Brazilian company, or in UAE, be like a local player, meeting, catering to the requirements and so on. So we've been able to do that successfully and build relationships, build a team, and still have a common sort of corporate culture across all these areas. So that's worked out very well for us.
Right, and truly, this is a case of an Indian startup actually made in India, built in India, but actually building for the world. So, congratulations on that. We wish that you expand into many more countries. But talking about competition in this space, well, you have heavyweights like Twilio and local players like Root Mobile in the CPaaS space. So, how does Gupshup then plan to stay differentiated?
So I think, firstly, the market is huge, right? It's massive. It's a global market, and there are many different channels. For example, SMS, WhatsApp, RCS, and there are a few other messaging channels as well. And virtually every enterprise in all these regions, need these services. So the diversity of requirements means that there are different niches that different companies can specialize in and optimize for, and so on. Right. So Twilio is a global leader, but it's mostly in the Western markets. We rarely come across them head to head. Then, of course, there are players in India and also in other markets, Brazil, Mexico, Middle East, and so on. I think the way Gupshup distinguishes itself, I think we are the unique combination of a large install base and innovation, right? What I mean by that is, we have all these customers for messaging requirements, but each of those customers now also need conversational AI capabilities. And Gupshup has invested a lot in building out these tools, which many other existing companies have not, right? So we've built out all this innovation, and we can easily go and upsell to our existing customers. Compared to new players, right? There's a lot of new startups coming up as well, because AI has made product development easier, but AI hasn't made go to market any easier, right? So to build this giant customer base of 50,000 customers in 100 plus countries takes a lot of time, right? So like I said, we have the unique combination of incumbency and innovation to, and that works out very well in the markets. That's how we stand out.
Right, right. Right. Mr. Sheth, reports also suggest that you're exploring a domicile shift to India. Then perhaps would you be looking at an IPO in the near future? Could you walk us through the strategic plans that you have?
Well, honestly, I think we are talking to our lawyers, accountants, investment bankers, and so on. And there's a lot of things to be figured out. I don't think it's prudent to really go into what currently is still work in progress, right? So I'm not trying to avoid answering the question. It's just that we don't have clear answers at the moment. And because it's a complicated topic, right? Even, for example, shifting domicile involves, some taxation issues that we have to work through. It involves a lot of complexity in many different areas. So I think we're just figuring it out. We know that many other companies have done it, have considered that path already. And it makes, simply because it's out there, we have to explore the possibility. But honestly, we don't have all the right answers yet.
Absolutely. In fact, many other startups are also looking at that possibility of, shifting back their base to India, given the policies that are currently operational in the country. But Mr. Sheth, just one final question before we wrap up this discussion, and this is essentially a policy question. Now, India has introduced stricter data localization and messaging regulations in recent years. How does your company ensure compliance without actually compromising user experience or speed of innovation?
I mean, we invest a lot in compliance. Because we handle messaging at such a high scale, we have to also put in a lot of controls into making sure that we comply with all the regulations, and not just us, but even telcos and so on. right? So for example, there are sort of, what's called the distributed ledger technology, something that checks on the SMS side. Meta and WhatsApp has their own filters, even on the RCS side. So every channel, every region, in fact, around the world has different, rules and regulations and policies, and we need to filter messages for that. We need to ensure that our customers are complying, and therefore, we are complying as well. And really, we just have to invest a lot in that. I think ultimately, any company that's a serious player in this space that has long-term goals and ambitions, I mean, this is, inescapable. You have to, there's no choice, right? You really have to invest in making sure
Absolutely.
that it works and it works well for the long term.
Right.
You want the end consumers to be happy. You want enterprises to be able to use this for the longer term, and we want to be in business for a long
Right.
time as well. So really, it's an important topic. Yeah.
Right. So you're absolutely compliant as far as regulations in India are concerned over data privacy of customers, Mr. Sheth. It was an absolute pleasure to speak with you. We do hope to speak with you next time in person whenever your plans related to an IPO or re-domiciling back to India are firmed up. But for the moment, thank you very much for taking the time out and speaking to us here on ET Now.
Thank you for having me.